Okay, hello, well, everyone, welcome. Apologize for the late start. It's Carnival weekend here in Miami. There's a lot of traffic getting to the campus. But let's go ahead and get started. Sure, the mic is good, camera's good, okay. Let's open up with reciting prayer for spiritual workers, and then we'll continue on with our review of the Metaphysics 101 lecture series. Prayer for spiritual workers. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their limitations, would smite me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their weakness, would not heed me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their ignorance, would defile you through me. And I ask, Almighty God, O wondrous power, that your strength may be given to me now, so that I might be fortified by this, so that I might go forward bravely into the world, and despite reception, send forth my love of thee throughout all races of man. Almighty God, give me the power and strength to rise above my karmic weakness, the deficiencies in the pattern of my evolution, so that I might evolve and become stronger, I, and even stronger in thy everlasting light. O God, thy will be done. All right, again, welcome everyone to open discussion and various topics, class 119. Today, we will continue our review of the Metaphysics 101 lecture series, as well as continue reading through some selected chapters of the Mystic Constitution of Man book that is yet to be published by our teacher, Mr. Nehemiah Davis. We'll continue looking at the soul and also go into the Shakti power, its principles and function. So if you're following along with the lecture recording, at the point that we're at now, lecturer, Mr. Nehemiah Davis, goes into, or spends some time going into Shakti, its functions within the auric body. And specifically at this point, what we're going to look at today, we talk about it as it reveals itself as Kundalini once it goes into the 3.5 knot configuration, the nadis, and so on. So before we go into that, do we have any questions or comments? Let's open over here. And so, as a reminder, go to the Mystic Knowledge YouTube channel under playlists right here. And then you scroll down, you'll see Metaphysics 101. That is the playlist we're currently going through, a lecture series we're currently working through. As I mentioned before, in this, in the first video, the audio and video aren't synced. I think that was a problem with encoding like 10 years ago when this video was recorded and uploaded. So it was uploaded to YouTube. Somehow the video and audio became unsynchronized. But at around here, 2940, the video jumps forward. And then from that point onward, it is synchronized with the audio. I think it's just the first 30 minutes of the class 1 video, the audio and video are not synchronized, but later on the lecture after that, it does synchronize. There's maybe a minute or two of lecture that's lost at that point, but it's okay. You'll still be able to follow along with the lecture, as well as in the second video of that series as well. And then after that, we will move into Metaphysical Lecture Series for beginners. It's 21 lessons of metaphysics, the foundation of mystics and yoga. This will be the third series. And then from there, we may go either into how-to or the Tantra Yoga Lecture Series, because there's a couple of specific Tantra Yoga series. But I think the how-to will be a good place to pick up after the 21 lessons. So that's quite a lot of videos. Almost 60 videos we'll take a look at over. We won't go through each and every single one of them. I'll pull out key points from, let's say, 20 lessons. I won't go through all 44 videos. Metaphysical series, I won't go through all 5 videos. We'll pick and choose ones to highlight, but you are invited to go back and review these lecture series and come back with your questions or comments, and we'll be happy to address those for you. Right, so again, that's the mysticknowledge.org YouTube channel under playlist, and you can scroll down to some of our earlier lecture series that were given 10, 11 years ago. All right, so if there are no questions, let's go ahead and jump into the transcript. Just trying to pick a good place to pick up. So we covered the part with karmic principles. So we'll start here in the middle of page 2. Okay. Can everyone see the Word document? Okay. And I apologize, I did not put the timestamps into the transcript. So I don't remember exactly when in the Metaphysics 101 Class 1 lecture that this part of the transcript, which we're going to pick up from here, takes up. think maybe next, when I go through this again, I will go back and add a timestamp so it'll be easier for you to follow along. And another thing I did was when you see this part in the kind of squiggly lines, this is when someone in the audience asked the question or made a comment or answered a question, and then Nehemiah would respond and answer the question or follow along that whatever reasoning or understanding that the students had, would then, I guess, follow along with that to help us who were attending at the time to better understand the subject matter. All right, so what it does, it uses the thing that the Absolute put here for us, which is the Nadic state of energy, or Shakti, the Nadi states of Shakti. And Shakti means energy, power, absolute power. So he's talking about the soul at this point, talking about soul here. So what does this Nadi or Nadic means? It means a flow of Shakti or Prana. Depending on what state it's in, all Nadis means is the energy is flowing. So it knows the flow of this Shakti. It knows that the purest substance of this Shakti is what? Is Sushumna. And that's where the soul resides. That's why we want to push all the Shakti back into Kundalini, into Sushumna, and raise Kundalini there. Why? Because when the Shakti, not the subject, but when this Kundalini power, which is Shakti power, when it goes into the Sushumna, it is what? It becomes what? It becomes senseless. Why is that so? When the energy enters Sushumna, what is unique about the energy? What is unique about the nadis when it enters Sushumna? They are combined. So what does that make it? Makes it neither male nor female. So you have a positive and a negative energy that combines and becomes one. So what does that make it? It's senseless. It has no sense. It's pure soul. Then, and when it becomes pure soul, it's ready to do what? To be bathed in the light of the Spirit. So I mentioned earlier that to keep in mind that it is all one energy, and when that energy is in a certain position or under a type of modification, we attribute another name to it. So, as he's going to mention later on in the lecture, that when this Shakti energy reaches Muladhara, it enters at 3.5 knots, and that is the point in which we refer to it as Kundalini. But throughout the lecture, he'll use Shakti and Kundalini somewhat interchangeably. So don't get confused in thinking that it's that he's making a mistake or is trying to confuse you. It's not. It is all one energy, but expressing itself at different levels, and at those different levels, we give it a different name, but it's all still the same Shakti energy. And when he does switch back and forth, it is explained or given in the context to explain why it's moving, why he's saying Shakti here instead of Kundalini, why he's saying Kundalini here instead of Shakti. It's in the context of what he's discussing at that time to help you to understand why he's using that particular terminology at that moment. So the question some of the audience asks, is that when it enters Sushumna through the crown? The response is no. from the base of the spine. Because why? When you draw all the energy back to the base of the spine, right, and you unravel Kundalini, right? So this is what he's talking about here, is when you withdraw all the energy from the body in meditation, withdraw all the energy from the body, and from the withdraw all the energy from the nadis, and you bring it down to the base, and you use that energy to unravel Kundalini. So then Kundalini moves up Sushumna. It can only enter Sushumna in a purified state. So then, therefore, the positive and the negative have to combine to become one, because Sushumna is what? It is a balance of energies. So it becomes sexless. And that's one of the things that keeps us divided. Because we are what? We are always in this male state or this female state. We create this illusion of separation when really it's not. There is no real separation. So here he's not saying that the purified state of Kundalini is what keeps us divided. He's saying in that unpurified state where the Kundalini energy is split up into positive, negative, Ayana and Pingala, male, female. That's what he's referring to. But when we withdraw the nadic energy from the nadis and bring it to the base of the spine and to unravel Kundalini, then it is it moves. That is when it moves up to Sushumna in that purified state, and that divided male-female state is no longer. We're no longer plagued by that, because in that purified state, the balance of the energies becomes sexless. So what the soul does, the soul pushes this energy, this Shakti energy, down Sushumna in a pure state and brings it to the base of the spine. And what it does, okay, so here he's talking about the involutional process, okay? The soul pushes that Shakti, during that involutional process, the soul pushes the Shakti energy down Sushumna in a pure state to the base of the spine. And what it does, the pressures of this particular chakra, the Muladhara, which is the base of the spine, it's the perfect place to tie up the Kundalini, or the Shakti power. To tie the Shakti power up and turn it into, the Shakti power is turned into Kundalini at this point. Okay? So remember, this is the transcript of a lecture he's given, but there's also, he's following along, or he's illustrating what he's describing in the lecture on the board when he's drawing it with, he's drawing us. So he's referring back to the illustration as he's describing what's happening during this involutional process. And so when it seems like he's jumping around in the transcript, it's not really jumping around. It's when you go back and watch it, even though it's out of sync, it makes better sense, because the illustration is on the board. So he's showing on the board at this point. He had drawn out Sushumna, and he had drawn out the crown and the spirit and soul, and pushing down that Shakti energy down Sushumna. And so he's pointing to the illustration, and sometimes he's even drawing it as he's describing. And this transcript is just a written aspect of what he was saying during the lecture. By the natural pressures at this particular point, the Muladhara. So in the handout, I kind of go into that for you to see. So what happens here, when it is turned into this, when it gets here, Muladhara chakra, the Shakti power is coiled into a 3.5 knot. And a 3.5 knot is Kundalini. And at that point, the Shakti power is divided. It becomes divided, and from there, you get, when the Shakti power is divided, at that point, you get Ida and Pingala, or positive, negative, male, female, as you mentioned earlier in the lecture. So give me a second. Let's see if in the text, does he go into, when does he go into Ida and Pingala? Around chapters 7 and 8. So before I move further in the lecture, let me now jump over to the Mystic Constitution of Man textbook, so we can go into more detail about what we just described, or what Nimai just described at that point of the lecture. And if I remember where I stopped last time, did I stop at chapter 3 or did I stop at, I did 1 and 2, I did 3, so I think I'm doing 4 today. Okay. Let's resume share and let's move over to the Mystic Constitution book. Are there any questions or comments or anything you want to add or correct, Nehemiah? Or move on to the book?
No, not really.
Okay. Okay, so this is Mystic Constitution of Man, the mystic knowledge of man's embodied consciousness.
We're anesthesiology.
Okay, let's go ahead and just want to see where I left off. All right, let's go ahead and jump in at chapter 4. I do believe we did chapter 3 already. Pause this. Okay, chapter 4, the mental bodies, the formation of man's consciousness. Okay, yeah, so I did chapter 3 last time. Sorry, I was just confirming, make sure I'm not backtracking or skipping anything. Superconscious mind. The supra-conscious mind is known as the highest level of consciousness the soul uses to manipulate all other consciousness. The superconscious mind is a supreme creative universal mind substance that is actually seen as one of the universal Shakti principles known as Chitta. The Shakti Chitta is the component of the cosmic creative Shakti wave that maintains a universal matrix of mind energies that supports and formulates divine intelligent patterns that all energy cycles must follow. This type of mind energy, chitta, is pure and acts as a creative background system for manifested creation. When the soul interacts with this creative wave of chitta Shakti, a part of it becomes manas, a mind energy that operates in a manner that supports lower levels of consciousness, that operates on positive and negative cycles of cosmic energies, pranas. From it is this energy formation that makes up the other three components of man's mind, which are one, the super conscious mind of man, number two, the subconscious mind of man, and three, the conscious mind of man, which is the lowest aspect of man's consciousness. The supra-conscious level of man's mind intersects at the chakra crown level, where the soul of man can make its presence more active and free of negative karmic fallback. The superconscious mind level intersects at the Christ chakra, or the supraconscious mind, Christ chakra, and throat chakra. And no, sorry, super, that's right, throat chakra, and possible the heart chakra. The superconscious mind formulates or manifests itself on these higher chakras, but operates throughout the whole of the auric structure of man. The soul uses the higher aspects of mind in order to build the lower aspects of mind. This is done by the manipulation of various energy cycles flowing in and out of the chakra system. Supra-conscious mind is a universal super mind belt that all life forms in the manifested worlds of the universe share for maintaining their existence. All higher life forms share this knowledge on a conscious level, which gives them their access to and control over the all-pervasive cosmic energies of the universe on multiple realms of existence and levels of consciousness. Superconscious mind. The superconscious mind is that part of man's consciousness that represents the higher self of man. It is that part of consciousness that communicates directly with the soul and assists it in managing the lower levels of consciousness. This superconscious mind is the result of the nadi system being used to place limitation on the manifested consciousness brought about by the manifested portion of the soul. Nadic systems serves to split up this consciousness into three major components, which is called man's minds. The soul is enshrined in the Nadic system. As stated above, the soul creates this web-like system around itself to serve as an instrument to break up its consciousness into various levels of consciousness. This web-like system that the nadis creates distributes bits of the soul's consciousness throughout this web system. This creates points of consciousness that are entry points to higher planes of existence. The superconscious mind is that highest level of consciousness that is being created and split up throughout the nadi system. The spirit is the background behind the source of all power for the soul, and the soul is that background behind the source of all power for the superconscious mind, and the soul is also that link to the spirit. The superconscious mind is the background behind man's mind and the canvas that it uses to create its expression of life. So superconscious mind is the instrument that the soul uses to control the other tools of expression that the soul uses. The work of the superconscious mind is to assist the soul in managing the involutional and evolutional process of man's existence. The supraconscious mind is like the great devata. Sorry. The supraconscious mind is like the great devata of man's mind and body. It is that part of man's consciousness that he ascends to through his evolution. It is that part of man's consciousness that he activates through the rise of the great power of Kundalini. The superconscious mind is that part of mind that man will work towards achieving over lifetimes of reincarnation. The superconscious mind is a state of mind that saints and yogi adepts or masters work from. The supraconscious mind is that state of man's mind that represents the risen state of consciousness, where the soul operates from in order to shape and mold the lower states of consciousness. It is this state of mind that acts as a point of consciousness under karmic authority to direct and pressure man towards conformity to God's divine laws and purpose. The superconscious mind is the background mind substance behind all mind components, and that portion of mind that directs the actions of mind by setting limitations on mind dictated by the laws of karma. The superconscious mind is that part of mind that is locked away from basic man's common use and only pierces through and as inspiration or intuition. The full aspect of the superconscious mind can only be realized and controlled by the conscious rise and control of the power of Kundalini. When Kundalini is risen, it calibrates and synchronizes the chakra system, whereby the conscious mind, subconscious mind, when the conscious mind and subconscious mind begins to respond to the supraconscious mind as the true ruler of the three faces of mind substance. Okay. Subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is that part of man's mind that handles all the involutionary actions within man's existence. The subconscious mind manages the functions of all the subtler bodies and the physical body. It is that part of the mind that handles the most minute functions of the largest handles from the most minute functions to the largest functions of the physical body. It frees up the supraconscious mind and the conscious mind from having to deal with these functions 24 hours a day. Although the subconscious mind does interact with the superconscious mind and conscious mind by way of giving a direct and indirect response to its commands and actions. The superconscious mind gives directives from itself and the soul to the subconscious mind to constantly try to achieve the necessary karmic balance. The conscious mind's uncontrolled thoughts and actions creates the karmic directives to the subconscious mind that it must adhere to. Because the subconscious mind strictly adheres to the divine laws of karma, the subconscious mind's very existence pulsates to the divine law. The subconscious mind is like the great diva of mind and body, its sole purpose is to make sure all actions are given the proper proportional karmic reaction. It is that part of man's consciousness that stores all memories of present and past lives. This record of man's thought and actions stored in the subconscious mind leaves signature scars on the auric body of man and becomes the karmic instruments that serve to calibrate the amounts of limitations placed on man's current and future lives. These auric signature scars, which are negative and positive thought forms, hang on the human aura and distorts the natural flow of the cosmic energies within the aura. To give an example of the subconscious mind functions, one of the functions can be described as the process of what happens when man digests the food he eats. The subconscious mind is that part of mind that controls how the food is broken down to its lowest substance and exacts the proper minerals and nutrition and distributes it throughout the body to assist in maintaining it. The subconscious mind also digests the mental vibrations of that food and the mental impressions of the food that's been placed there by those who touched, prepared, or cooked the food. These mental impressions are distributed throughout the auric system. The mental impressions act as bits of subtle cosmic energy that is discolored by the positive and negative thought forms, which act as nutrition or poison to the auric structure of man. Other examples can be taken from the many involuntary functions such as circulatory system, the respiratory system, the nervous system, etc. The subconscious mind controls all these involuntary functions and hundreds more. Next, the conscious mind. The conscious mind is that part of man's mind that handles the so-called conscious state of man's existence. This part of man's mind is looked upon as that natural force within the mind, which is part conscious mind and unconscious mind. The conscious state of man functions in a state of limited consciousness through narrowing the point of focus of man's mind and by limiting the access to the subconscious mind and the supraconscious mind. This limitation brings about a so-called individual state of consciousness, which serves to limit man's awareness of the whole, I am, and have him to focus on the aspect of that part, the I. This state of consciousness is the point where man begins his journey through evolution. It is the final stage of the primary state of involution and the first stage of the evolutionary journey. It is this stage where the great force from the Mahabindu called Shakti goes into a state of rest and reveals Shiva that was always there, with it by tightly wrapping itself 3.5 times around itself to manifest the Shiva, and at that point is now called Kundalini. This state of existence is called the Maya Shakti, the power that makes the whole into not whole. The conscious mind is the result of this power called Maya Shakti. These individualists separates man from the lower animal kingdom and brings about the limited state of consciousness that he creates his existence in order to evolve back to the whole conscious state. This Maya Shakti helps to produce and maintain a state of limited conscious mind that produces a state of individualism and separation from the whole. The conscious mind of man, which man operates from and through, is a very narrow receiving point of man's mind. The physical part of man's mental receiving set is the human brain, which physical science tells us that man only uses 2 to 3% of its capacity. The metaphysician tells us that the etheric part of man's mental receiving set is the chakras and the nadic system, which man only uses less than 1% of its capacity. There's an emotional part to man's mental receiving apparatus that makes up his conscious mind, which is a combination of his past and present thoughts and actions. Okay, and before I continue with chapter 5, I do want to go through 5 and maybe 6 because I want to catch up to where Nehemiah is at in the Metaphysics 101 Class 1 lecture. But do we have any questions or comments before I move into chapter 5? Or anything you want to add, Nehemiah?
Yeah, if you notice, describing the mental bodies, you'll notice that they followed the same rule as as creation did, as the spirit did, as soul did, where they created different aspects of themselves in order to function.
Right.
So it's kind of like a rule throughout creation. And you should see those patterns in most things. So they create a positive, a negative, a neutral, and in order to bring about a functioning system. And even at the highest level, you notice that there was a supra consciousness and a super consciousness. So, and even with the subconscious split itself up into multiple parts in order to function, the same as the conscious mind. So you'll keep seeing those patterns, and this information is ancient. It's thousands of years old. It's nothing new, but it just shows that there's an intelligent pattern throughout creation and throughout all manifested life. When you begin to study it, you'll see those same principles begin to work over and over and over again, just in different stages or different operations of energy, of mind and energy.
So the Maya Shakti, is that only expressed at that compaction point at the Muladhara, at that realm of existence?
Well, for us, yes, and then, but no throughout the universe, because it's a certain level of Maya or at every level.
Oh, okay.
And it's only when you begin to control, because the key to breaking that illusion is controlling the energy up and down the spine. At those different chakra levels. So, and I think even, what we're taught, even when man move into the crown chakra levels the Christ and the crown chakra levels, which is avatar, cosmic being, bodhisattva levels, they still have to refine the way they use that power, and one of, and the nine freedoms tell us or allude to it, that one of the ways that that they compound on that is by merging parts of their consciousness with those like beings, that they broke apart from throughout creation itself or manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
So as we go, I think Dr. King had a lecture tape that talked about soulmates.
Mm-hmm.
and that as we grow our intelligence, the soulmates become one. They keep coming together in order to actually become a divine being. And so once you control this power kundalini, then you realize those intelligent beings that you supposed to be a part of, and you merge your consciousness with those beings to the point where once you have merged your consciousness many times, you begin to divide your consciousness in order to give a greater service, but totally aware of everything. So it's just like the earth, the Mother Earth herself. I mean, you have the logos of the earth, but all the species that make up the Mother Earth is an individual life itself. The trees, the blades of grass, the sand,
Mm-hmm.
all the different elements. All of those are life forms.
Mm-hmm.
Which is part of her consciousness. So there's, and when you think about it like that, you realize why it takes us so much to advance, because we're constantly modifying her body for our own selfish needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's just something to think about.
So when we merge all of our consciousness and then eventually return back to the absolute, is that the only point where we completely are free from all types of Maya Shakti?
I mean, when you get to a certain level, you are free of it, but you manipulate that as an energy or a tool.
Oh, okay.
In order to use it to benefit
Others.
Remember, one of the great lessons that Mars Sector 6, Dr. George King, Master Theorist, taught us is that you have these great lords of creation
Uh-huh.
that have limited themselves. They could have been absorbed back with the absolute, but they wait in abeyance for the rest of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
or these great galactic lords, they wait in advance for all mankind to reach the level that they need to, in order for them to move back into that endless potential of the absolute.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that was not spoke about. At least I didn't see it spoke about like that in the ancient teachings. But they said they refused to move, back to the absolute, and completely with absolute, until until all life forms are ready to move back. And all those life forms, when you think about it, because they reach to a level that they realize that all the life forms is a part of them. So they owe some type of responsibility to it to some degree that we can't even begin to understand.
So then, just like how there will come a point where the lords of karma will tell the Mother Earth, stop, that's enough, you have to evolve now. Will there be a similar point for the lords of creation? Or
Yeah, I think so. I think that's why they said until everyone have reached a level that they can be absorbed, because we are an extension of them,
Mhm.
of the whole. And you have these cosmic beings, these galactic cosmic beings that realize that there's only one life, and that all of us on the journey, what was described, I think it's described in Nana Yoga, and they briefly try to explain it in the Nana Yoga book by Yoga Ramacharaka, where they described, the whole, everybody being of one, and that that at one point, when it's time, when we reach that equilibrium point, everything can accelerate to the point where it needs to be.
Mhm.
In other words, that comic equilibrium point, and then everybody will gain all the experience they need within a few seconds,
Mhm. Mhm.
because they have reached that point, because they still a part of the whole, and the whole can have the grace on them to help them. It's
Mhm.
sort of like the story of Krishna and Arjuna, where Sri Krishna had Arjuna to go through a whole life experience within 20 to 30 minutes. He lived his whole life. I don't know if you remember the story, where he asked him to go get him a drink of water. And Sri Krishna went and got went to the river to pick the water up, met a beautiful woman, forgot about the master, and just fell in love with the lady, married her, had kids from her, Then a flood came many years later, and he realized that he left the master there by the river, and then he runs back there, in the flood. He loses his family, he loses his wife, his kids, and then he realized the tragedy he did by leaving the master alone.
Mhm.
And he realized, and then he go back to the spot and realize that it was just an illusion,
Mhm. Mhm.
that he had not lived all those years. But it showed the state of his mind and where his desires were, and that he wasn't fully committed at that time.
Mhm. Mhm. Any other questions before I continue to chapter 5? See the chat here. No? Okay. Chapter 5, the Shakti power, its principles and function. In this chapter on cosmic energy, the intent is to show the student the origin of this power and its relationship with sabda, or nada, sound. How this power flows down from an absolute source, God, and moves towards a perpetual movement throughout the universe with the help of nada. This nada wave brings about a continued modification of cosmic energy, that brings it into a state of gross solidification of this power through what we call creation. Then the soul of man uses this prana as being radiated throughout the universe to build and manage his various vehicles of expression. Prana is the universal life force of all things. Everything that we have talked about thus far can be described as a modification of this prana. In this chapter, I hope to go into a deeper explanation of the nature and origin of prana, cosmic energy, so that the student can have a greater and clear appreciation for prana. It is said that prana radiates from the one source, the absolute, because it is that aspect of the absolute that was activated by a sound vibration, nada, out of a complete static state of endless potential, which brought about the beginning of what we call creation. This wave of nada makes possible the perpetual movement throughout the universe. In our exploration of prana, there are four major levels that we can view prana from. It is my intention to try and present the known pathway of the modification of this Shakti power from a cosmic level to a human level. I have chosen this manner of representation to try and give an easy to understand method of approach to clearly grasp this subject. Following the subject headings of this chapter. First is the cosmic level of Shakti prana. Second, the solar level of prana manifestation. Third, the terrestrial level of prana. And four, the humanoid level of prana. The following diagram lays out the outline of the four headings. Modification of the Shakti power chart shows how pranas move from a high supreme state of operation to a more subtle and gross state of manifested expression of this power. And it's not here, but let me, in a second, let me pull up the modifications of Shakti. No. Okay. Let me swap over to this. It's not the same one that is in the book. This is one of the known modifications of Shakti power from the absolute to earth. But not present in this one is the human level, which I'll show in a different diagram. I do believe this is available in the shared folder. So just briefly, you have the endless potential, unmanifested. Then there's the Vak, which is spoken word, Nada Shakti, which we're going to look at now. And then Shakti, and the Shakti principles, Nana, Chitta, Prana, Ananda. Followed by Akasa, Tejas, Prithvi, the elements, Vayu, Apas, and then Mahabhutas is the sun. This is the solar level, which we'll also look at in the in the text. And that comes down to the earth level. And that's with the 5 major pranas: Udana, Prana, Samana, Vyana, Apana, and also the terrestrial, the human level. But we'll get to that in the text. Cosmic level of Shakti or Prana. When we examine the ancient tantric doctrines, it states that Shiva, the supreme presence of God, spoke the word, and this word released the sound vibration called nada, which is a continuous wave of sound vibration, which is the conscious will of God. Excuse me. This wave of nada vibrations helps to manifest the Shakti power wrapped in nada out of Shiva. Then this Shakti power, with the use of nada force, modifies a part of itself into the 4 Shakti principles, which are Shakti as mind substance. Number 1, this is a universal or infinite mind / consciousness of the nada Shakti wave of power that permeates the universe and gives conscious awareness to all forms and shapes. It acts as a magnetic force that holds the configuration of all forms and shapes that extends from the 4 principles of Shakti. Shakti as prana, number 2. This is the all-pervasive vital life force of the wave of nada Shakti that acts as the fuel for all forms and shapes within manifestation. It is the main source of power within creation, whether it's subtle or gross. Shakti as Vyana, which, number 3, this is the aspect of knowledge within the nada Shakti wave that holds the essences of all things and governs this wave with the supreme knowledge understanding of the karmic pressures of the divine law that structures all of creation. And number 4, Shakti as Ananda. This is a spiritual bliss state where the nada Shakti wave that permeates the universe and sustains all forms and shapes with a preservational force within the nada Shakti wave. It's also known as a flow or wave of love energy that permeates the universe and holds all things in manifestation and is the transforming power for all things. We live by the grace and love of God. Out of these Shakti principles came the Mahabhutas. These Shakti principles moved forward and created 5 distinct sound vibrations that wrap themselves in the Shakti power and is called the Mahabhutas. The Mahabhutas is subtle universal cosmic energies or Shakti power that expresses those infinite universal subtle elements, which is described as follows. Number 1, Akasa. This is the first nada Shakti wave within the Mahabhutas. This is the etheric sound quality within the nada Shakti wave. It expresses the quality of space by throwing or pushing the pranas into a form that creates a line or conduit of infinite space, which acts as a carrying agent for all of the other Mahabhutas. The conduit of space is an endless, infinite area of space that is actually indescribable. Akasa is the Mahabhuta that all Mahabhutas work through in order to express their specific qualities of the nada Shakti powers. Akasa is the thing all forms and shapes come from and is made from. All the other Mahabhutas are made from and are part of the Akasa substance, Akasha substance. The Vayu, Tejas, Apas, and Prithivi are all components of Akasa and are considered Mahabhutas themselves. To use an example of this, we can consider a beam of light. When looking at the beam of light through a prism apparatus, we can see the inner spectrums that make up the beam of light. We immediately notice that there are arrays of colored light spectrums within the beam of light, and each one of these light spectrum are still considered to be light, not a byproduct of light, but light itself. Just as Akasa is Shakti, Nada, and Mahabhutas, but a frequency of the Nada Shakti that produces all forms. Number 2, Vayu. This expression of Nada Shakti wave gives accelerated speed to the Mahabhutas, or Pranas. With the start of the second expression of the Mahabhutas, Vayu, this cosmic etheric substance throws the wave into the form of tiny spheres that exhibits accelerated speed. Vayu was also described as an air quality or power that pervades throughout all space. It seeks to fill all vacuum. Because of this exhibited power, it is said to also express the power of touch. This locomotion speed modified the Nada Shakti wave to express another component or quality of the wave that expresses itself as fire and color, which brings forward the next Mahabhutas. Tejas. This expression of the Nada Shakti wave has the duty of giving the Mahabhutas, Pranas, the ability of expansion. It carries the quality or power of fire and color, which gives great strength to the involutional process of solidification. The acceleration of the Vayabhutas brings the fiery heat of the Tejas Bhutas brings the fiery heat of the Tejas Bhutas that unlocks the colors wrapped within this Mahabhutas. Countless colors express themselves on all realms of existence from this process. This stage of the Tejas Mahabhutas that brought color forward also ushers in the next Mahabhutas, which cools the Nada Shakti wave of Mahabhutas down. Number 4, Apas. With this expression of the Nada Shakti wave, we get the cooling effect that comes into play with the properties of contraction being given to the Mahabhutas, Pranas. This brings the resistance factor into play. It is with this Bhutas that the solidification process can begin to be seen as the first visible forms of manifested Shakti. This aspect of the Mahabhutas wave is associated with the quality and power of water and taste. Excuse me. Number 5, Prithivi. With this expression of the Nada Shakti wave brings about the power that covers up space, solidifies, with its natural desire towards gross matter. A concentration of Nada force and Shakti power is manifested in this stage of the Mahabhutas, which exhibits itself as a compaction of Nada wave force and Shakti power that produces a cohesive resistance. This allows the highest principle and qualities of Nada forces and Shakti powers that manifest itself on the very subtle realms of existence to the most subtle, gross realms of manifestations, producing countless of different expressions of life. These Mahabhutas are what the Nada wave and Shakti principle uses for the building blocks of creation. These Shakti principles are like 4 infinite planes of existence that the Mahabhutas are built upon. The Shakti principles allow the supreme Mahabindus to manifest themselves as massive point of concentrated Shakti and Nada sources of power. That projects this nada and Shakti power as countless life forms in all different types, shapes into countless realms of existence. This wave of nada or sabda forces projects itself from the Shakti principles as pure consciousness embodied in the Mahabhutas, creating the subtle universe that the physical universe is built upon. Within this all-pervasive nada consciousness of Shakti power, there are the Mahabindus, which are the centers of compacted, concentrated points of nada and Shakti power that we call galaxies, solar systems, suns, planets, and moons. All these celestial bodies are supreme points of consciousness that split their consciousness up into countless parts to serve countless souls. And now for the solar level of Shakti or Prana. Oh, hey, Fritz, welcome. Glad to see you. Solar levels of Shakti or Prana. The ancient tantric yogi philosophy tells us that the sun is the major source of this universal supply of prana for our solar system. This mighty being known as the sun receives this all-pervasive cosmic energy from the absolute and radiates it out throughout the solar system and galaxy. The ancient text describes the sun's radiating quality of being a huge aura of tattvic matter extending from the sun, engulfing the whole solar system, and even extending outside the regions of the solar system. This tattvic matter is a result of the sun issuing a great sonic vibration that permeates its immediate surroundings and extends out, modifying itself as needed. This tattvic matter that extends from the sun is like a huge solar plasmic field that all the planets exist within. This tattvic matter is a mode of motion that is created from the central impulse, which keeps matter within a certain vibratory state. This tattvic matter has 5 distinct modes of vibration, which mirrors the prana and gives a vibratory motion to the prana. It must be understood that this tattvic matter is only a modification of prana itself. This prana is radiated from the sun by a sonic vibration that's issued from the sun every 32 minutes into this sea of tattvic matter, that which gives life to the 5 vibrational modes of motion. The solar logos level is the mighty sun. There is little that we can say here except to try to describe what our feeble minds can comprehend of this. As I briefly explained above, the sun receives this prana from the universal supply of cosmic energy, the absolute God. The mighty sun then acts as a pulsating instrument for this cosmic energy prana radiating from the absolute. The sun then releases a sonic vibration every 32 minutes that radiates this prana from itself, creating this huge wave of this solar substance. This solar substance vibrates everything that is within its aura and pathway with this pranic substance as it moves on its journey through the galaxy. As the sun rotates on its axis and moves through the galaxy, it creates a huge magnetic environment that holds the other celestial bodies within its orbit. Each one of these celestial bodies, or planets, receives this prana being radiated from the sun. In return, the planets send a percentage of this prana back to the sun, and to the other planets within the solar system. In radiating prana, the sun brings about a modification of it, the prana, through the rotational movement and deliverance of the prana. The mystic society is told this by ancient texts of tantric philosophy, that this modification is described as tattvic matter produced from the sonic vibrations and solar rotation. This tattvic matter seems to be a combination of prana, the sun's solar substance, the modification of both of these forces from the rotation and sonic vibrations being released from the sun. Another factor that could be part of this tattvic matter is the solar light being radiated from the sun. The ancient tantric text suggests that this tattvic matter from the sun has 360 tattvic rays or radiated degrees from the sun. These tattvic rays build itself up and arrange itself in various forms to create various energy signatures that allows level of life expression, such as planets, moons, vegetation on the planets, animal life on the planets, and humanoid life on the planets. The tattvic signatures seem to be a result of the pranic motion when it is being irradiated from the sun and the moon, as it interacts with the planets and life forms on the planets. The tattvic signatures seem to be affected by the lifespan of these pranic signatures. By lifespan, I mean the measured time units of the pranic motion as it moves from one energy pattern to another. There are 5 major motions that continue to repeat itself and create a perpetual motion that have long-term effects on the manifested energy patterns or energy signatures that are radiated from the sun and live in the sea of tattvic matter of solar plasma that surrounds the sun. The solar plasma responds to the following rotational patterns and movements are number one is a constant rotational motion of the sun as it radiates the prana or cosmic energy towards the Mother Earth and other planets. Number 2, another motion is the movement of the sun through the galaxy or the rotation of the galaxy through the universe, which has a repeated effect on the energy patterns. Number 3 is the perpetual motion that would seem to have an effect on the energy patterns is rotation of the planets around the sun. And the fourth perpetual motion that we most speak of, because it directly affects our immediate energy patterns, is the rotation of the Earth, creating the north and south energy patterns, which defines the positive and negative flow of energies. And number 5, the 5th perpetual motion that affects the energy patterns of the life forms here on Earth is the rotation of the moon as it orbits the Earth. These energy patterns dictate and highly influence all the other energy patterns within the sea of the solar tattvic matter, which includes the directional flow of this cosmic energy. Also, the sea of solar tattvic matter that radiates from the sun influences the general natural quality of this cosmic energy. In order to really understand the subject, we must realize that the sun's presence extends far beyond its physical manifestation. The solar logos, the sun, has its physical manifestation and its subtle physical manifestation that extends hundreds of millions of miles from the sun's physical manifestation. All the planets orbiting the sun exist within this subtle physical manifestation, which is the solar plasmic field of the sun, or in Sanskrit terms, the solar tattvic matter of the sun. Now, each one of the planets has its own tattvic signature patterns and expresses those tattvic patterns as according to its position within the sea of the solar tattvic matter. What do I mean by this? the planets within the solar system has its own cosmic energy configuration that is based on where the sun gave birth to that planet, or the position that the planet took within the sea of the solar tattvic matter upon its incarnation and the orbital journey it takes around the sun during its incarnation as the sun makes its journey around the galaxy's central sun, or rotational pattern it takes around the sun. The rotational configuration of each planet within the solar system produces particular qualities that creates hundreds of energy patterns that places certain pressures on the life forms within this sea of solar tattvic matter to define the tattvic limitations that makes up the physical and subtle manifestation. The physical scientists would call this prana and tattvic matter subatomic particles, if they were able to recognize its existence because of the tremendous subtle power demonstrated by these mighty forces. The tattvic strings of matter seem to have intelligent signature patterns that give and maintain life to various energy forms. I'm just going to pause here and say, if you go back to the Metaphysics 101 Class 1 video, this is around the 29 minutes and 43 second mark, where the video jumps forward and it resynchronizes and picks up at a part where Nehemiah has illustrated and is describing the makeup of an atom. And he's using that illustration to help us understand exactly what we're talking about at this point in the book. So I believe in that lecture, what we can say, it skips a little bit of chapter 4, but then moves into what we're reading now in chapter 5, as he starts to describe this tattvic energy. He starts out with an illustration of the atom, and because I guess those of us who were in the class at that time would better understand that illustration, and then he moves into this discussion. So I probably should have waited to cover chapter 5 next time, but oh well, we're here now, so let's continue on. In the Serpent Power book, written in 1919 by Sir Arthur Avalon, Sir John Woodroffe, that's Arthur and Sir Avalon, describes these tattvic strings of matter as 360 tattvic rays that link itself with the etheric body of man through the chakra system. It describes the 360 tattvic rays as separated into 3 unequal groups, and each group has 2 unequal parts that are embedded in the chakras. The 3 groups of tattvic rays are governed by the vibrational modes of motion brought about by Earth, Fire, Sun, and Moon. Each one of these groups has 2 unequal groups of tattvic rays that embed itself in the chakras. The Earth or Fire tattvic rays embed its rays in the base of spine chakra and the sex chakra. The Sun tattvic rays embed its rays in the solar plexus chakra and the heart chakra. And the Moon tattvic rays embed its rays in the throat chakra and Christ chakra. These strings of tattva vibrational signatures assist in slowing down the cosmic energy prana within the chakras to allow various denser degrees of manifested energy patterns or forms that the soul can use as tools of self-expression. Sir Arthur Avalon also described the chakras as points of consciousness of I, the soul, which is the self-expression of the spirit, and the I am, the spirit, the divine spark of the absolute of God. This is described as the bindu of the chakra, the point of the all-knowledge space, or the doer of the soul, or the door to the soul, and the linkage to the spirit, the all in all, the absolute. The Serpent Power book goes on to explain the 360 tattvic rays also have a devic presence with each rays. The devas assist in manipulating tattvic rays, which are embedded in the chakras. The energy that the deva uses in order to manipulate tattvic rays within these chakras are the cosmic energies that's been conditioned by mind substance radiating from the manifested life form of the chakras in question. The thought forms and actions of each individual create a karmic signature that expresses energy patterns that serves to place limitations on the manifested portion of life. Okay, so we'll stop here. It's 2 o'clock. And we'll pick up pick up here next time. And I think I will go back into the transcript next time. I was saying I wanted to catch up to the transcript, but now I'm actually ahead of the transcript. That's okay. So are there any questions or comments? Or is there anything you'd like to add, Nehemiah? Stop sharing. Hey, Beatrice, glad to see you. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. All right, if there are no final questions, let us close out today's session. I'm sorry, Cindy, I just saw you unmuted yourself. Did you want to add something?
I don't know if we have time. One of the ways to remember the 5 Mahabhutas and their operation is, if you look at it, you will see Akasa creates the vehicle in which all the primary energies work through. But in operation, you'll see that that's reverse, where in the manifested state, you'll see Akasa have to create a motion through, a casa creates a sound, but a casa pulls the energy from Manas, from the Manas level, which is the Christ and the crown chakra level, which is the tavic matter of the universe, and it pushes a mental sound or mental command down, all the way down to the other Mahabhutas. And then the physical operation pulls on the liquid, the heat, the water, in order to make the sound. The liquid, the solids, the liquid, the heat and fire, and the air, in order to make, in order to transmute that physical, that mental or etheric sound, which Akasa is etheric sound, into a physical sound with mental commands. So it's the reverse process that works. And that's why pranayama is used with all yogas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why mudra yoga is used with all yogas as well, and mental. And because if you notice how it is, the Mahabhutas, which we talked about earlier, which was the earth, the sun, and the moon. They released this tabic matter. That tabic matter is laid out in a way where the sun takes care of all action, which gives you the energy to make all actions, right? The earth, the earth is that inert power that gives you solids, and it also gives you liquids. But then the sun gives you the energy and the air, and then the moon gives you the mental space in order to operate within. So you have to kind of reverse those actions when we start moving in manifestation. And I don't know if I'm making it clear enough, but if you know how motion works, the science of motion, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. And I think this might be the diagram you wanted to include in that chapter. Was this one or another one?
Yeah, but the other diagram was good too, but that's the original diagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the original diagram. But just to show you that all that this is just not talk, is it actually, you can actually see the operations of it. You know, that's why Mudra Yoga exists. That's why pranayama exists. That's why our bodies are 70% water. You know.
What's the difference? Well, I don't think there's not a difference, but nada and vak.
Vak is the initial sound, which is compacted with all sound, in other words. And as nata goes out, it degrades and upgrades itself in certain patterns. I mean, we can see that inside the solar system. The sun releases the holy word. It releases the holy word on its particular vibrations, and then the planets release another portion of the word with its vibrational energy, and every living thing does the same thing. So that's nata modifying itself through different vibrational signatures. But vak is the initial sound that birth all sound, or the original signature of God, which describes in the ancient teachings as the great lords of creation. When they make a sound, they create a galaxy or a universe, you know, which is the difference, because it holds endless potential.
Okay. All right. So are there any final questions, comments before we close out today's session? Let me look at the chats here. All right. If not, then let's go ahead and close with reciting of the New Lord's Prayer. The New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up, and in doing so receive through their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength, so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. Oh, great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and forever. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance and participation. Do remember to go back and review the Metaphysics 101 lecture series and come back with your questions and comments, and we'll be glad to address those for you. And for those members of your society, remember tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time is the service for the final hour spiritual push. I look forward to seeing you then. And for everyone else, we will see you next time. Have a good week.